splits. So the caliber of opponent now shifting. Apeks need to show us a step up.
Yeah, I'm okay with both these compositions. I think I would probably edge towards Killjoy just in general in Valorant at the moment over Cypher. But if you're going to bring Cypher on any map, this is one that I'm not particularly upset about. I will say that, generally I'm a big fan of Raze on this map, whereas obviously both of our duelists have opted to come as Jet, but that also doesn't surprise me too much given the way they like to utilize both of these players in the rosters.
Yeah, I don't know who the Raze player for Apeks would be. According to Mystic, he's looked different in scrims, but we don't talk about it. A nice set play here from them here. Util coming through, and it is Kiko that'll open us up with a kill onto Chihuahua. Nice stun from Radsky. In should be capitalized on and will be. Magnum falls. That's the A setup gone. They can pivot into this hit.
Yeah, they can just move straight into the A site here. And like you said, with Magnum being gone, they don't have to be concerned about that utility that was kind of left at the entrance of the site. So it should be a fairly easy spike plant.
Yeah. Mishu sort of filling in for the shoes of Chihuahua here. Really cut away from the rest of the pack. Will finally get reintroduced. One of the initiators has the recon up and both shock darts to delay. Apeks making this retake as swift as they can. As they've grouped up to take the site. Shadow preparing the stun, quick tap onto the spike, and the challenge towards Tree begins, and it's Mystic that finds 3. Maybe he should be on the duel list because the guy's just mowing him down. Walking away with it. Apeks take their first pistol of the series.
Mystic, who finished, one of the last rounds on Icebox with a sudden 3K, is going to be kicking off this game with a sudden 3K. And I have to say, I was thinking, when he moved into that smoke, I was like, where's the right click, man? And it was the lack of the right click on the side of Who that have really allowed Mystic to get the 3K with the frenzy, bursting straight through into that A side. Now, I think the fact that Who were just so bunched up there in Tree, there wasn't really any kind of dimension to the way that they were looking to pressure back in onto the site. Just, you plug that up with one of the dark covers, you move straight into it, bam, mow them down with the frenzy, easy.
It's nice seeing that set aggression come out from Apeks as well. How they deal with this C pressure from Hookahs, I think, will be pivotal in how the map ends up getting played. In the game against Focus, it was a part of the map which they look to test quite a lot. And they'll do it straight away here. Moving into the full execute off the back of taking that ground back, dashing through. Magnum dictating inside the smoke. The spam is good. 3 players will take a lick of damage off the back of it. And Mystic is here again. Anti-eco frags all the same, but he's got a triple next to his name multiple times so far in this game, and we'll be trying to get any more. Not happening. Radsky won't be able to get away with anything, in fact. Just a couple kills, no rifle to supplement any form of clutch. And Apeks walk away relatively unscathed. It got a bit nasty looking towards the end of that one.
I mean, Who, when they kind of got into the site, were really just looking to get a pick in through the smoke. It looked like that was kind of their condition that they were hoping for. Get in, get your position at the back of the site, and just pick someone up. Get us the man advantage. And the thing is, that's a very, volatile thing to rely upon, and it didn't work out in their favor then. So, going up against those better weapons, it was really difficult for them to actually be able to do that.
Yeah. Speaking of conditions and conditioning more specifically, you've seen Hookahs take control outside of C 2 rounds in a row. This now inhibited by Mystic, who has put a one-way up. Chihuahua realizing this into a lurk through middle. And I'm curious to see what the all prioritization looks like for Hookahs, because you've got Mishu and Radsky both creeping their way on forward to finding with the Hunter's Fury and the Rolling Thunder. Stun coming through, and Hookahs looking to converge on this B position from where Chihuahua already stood. Shadow finds a kill solo with the Sheriff. There is no trade. Hookahs back off in towards this A play, with the door turning, tree control taken. Chihuahua so far away from this position. Mishu fighting aggressive, finding one. Enzo with another in towards the site itself. A really interesting back and forth, and they're still not done. Radsky again into the backside. Enzo finding 3 of his own on the Odin. Finally, Chihuahua arrives, but it's late to the party.
That was a mess from who. I'm going to be honest. You know, that kind of push into the B side, didn't really necessarily know what they were moving into. As soon as they lost one, backed out immediately, head over to the A site, which hadn't been cleared. Now we know, because, you know, we're omniscient, that Enzo's been holding that site for the last couple rounds, and this time he had the Odin. The previous round he had an Ares. We pretty much know how that site's going to be held, and I hope that after this instance, who are going to be able to clock onto that and understand the way that that's going to be. But it wasn't even just him that time. So they just kind of ran into two sites blind, let themselves die. Like, it just wasn't clean. Like that kill.
Yeah, like that kill, exactly. Kiko finding the opener, not for the first time in this game. Two cards, of course, only on pistols, very mixed investment. Vac looking to be teed off here for a home run by Radsky. Pressured in the site, but not enough ground closed to really make that judge effective just yet. Mystic playing around the smoke of the Omen, the opposite end, Akimbo. Vac up inside Mystic's dark cover. This is so difficult to challenge if you're Kiko. You just have to respect the smoke for a moment and wait for the sightlines to open up. Eventually they will do, and he's just not prepared. Vac holding it down. And Apeks could be worried here if he's getting any more. The dash is online. Could look to challenge off the back of this utility from the Sober. Mystic finding another one. Finally, some jewels being taken towards Mound. The crossfires are established, but it's only Akimbo now that remains. A shot through the middle. Enzo nicely sat inside of that one from Mystic just before he falls, and Apeks find their fourth.
I mean, I liked what Vac was doing with the judge. You know, once they actually got the spike down, he could hold on to that angle, but it was then every time that Apeks were taking their shots, it wasn't just like one person swinging. It was two people holding from two different angles or two different, you know, heights. Exactly like we saw at the end of that, right? You know? And so that meant you might think that you know where someone's coming from, but there's actually two people, and that seemed to kind of bring them down there. Now, who do have 3 ultimates coming into this round, and they're not too far off of, they're from the Shadows, for example. Straight up going in with the Hunter's Fury, it kind of forces the positioning of those Apeks players, particularly Kiko there, but, you know, hasn't dealt any damage anywhere.
Feels like Hookahs are being hyper aggressive. There are barely any breaks in play. Vac forced to take one because he's been hit by his own Rolling Thunder. Some damage dealt, but now they're heading in towards Magnum's position. Needs to go big, and Vac simply will discard his knives in trade for that kill. It opens up B for them. Can take this more aggressive platform position and has actually spotted out the shy hand of Shadow around the corner. Looking to peek from the Hunter's Fury, in fact, of Enzo, but does get shut down by Kiko. And now the retake should be well underway.
Got to figure out where they want to position themselves. They know that there's players coming in through from the defender spawn.
Oh.
There's a kill onto Mystic, and the Aftershock's going to come through. Kiko getting in with the kill onto Akimbo. Aftershock didn't even matter. I have to say, though, I just need a moment. There were 2 instances in that round where who just took for granted knowledge they had. First, when they ran actually in through the breakable door, and they just thought they were fine because they'd given it a little peek in and hadn't actually fully looked through the angle. No, that is why you lost a player. And then it happened again when you actually had that, you know, the push up towards into CT, and they didn't realize that Kiko was there. They knew that Shadow was there because you saw him. You saw his, like, wrist or whatever it was. And again, it's like that assumption of knowledge. It's the assumption that you have the full story. And I think this seems to be something that's kind of hurt Hookahs a few times. And you know what? It actually hurt them in the previous map as well. It was something that we brought up. Do you remember when Vac pushed up really far forward on the A site with the operator and just assumed he was safe? And I think that it is not necessarily a comment on you being like a bad team, bad player, bad whatever it is, but it is something that needs to be fixed because due diligence or lack thereof, that is something that better teams will take advantage of 1,000,000 times over. And you will find yourself hanging out with the, you know, the losers at the bottom of the leaderboard.
that round from Hukars as well is one that you would consider to be an ultimate round. You had the Hunter's Fury and the Rolling Thunder that I was speaking about earlier, looking to be prioritized, both invested and not really turning any result whatsoever. The timing was off on Vax, so he was stunned. There couldn't be any capitalization in towards the site, and yet again, it just seems like they're trying to fight so many different areas of the map at once. Kiko holding down this one on C with the off, and he'll find the shot as always.
And that's just, you know, a beautiful target as well. You know, Vac's been the guy. He has to be the one to engage into these sites. Who's going to do it now? Who's going to be the engage?
Yeah.
Well, I don't really know. I mean, we can see the spikes starting to be rotated around. And you have Mishu still kind of holding onto the C site that's holding the attention of these 3 players of Apeks. Maybe that gives you an opening over towards the A site if you can deal with Enzo.
Oh.
But Kiko's bringing down your players over towards C. Enzo's got an Odin in hand. So, you know, you could be standing 3 million miles away and he's going to be penetrating every single wall between you and him. And this is also giving Apeks quite a lot of time to be making rotates. Mystic making his way over to the A site. There's 40 seconds left. There's
Enzo
exactly
with the
spam.
This guy, he does it on a Cent B site with Sova. And after some sort of research has realized, wait, I can just do the same thing on Lotus. And he's not even stopped, for goodness sake. The end Odin is inevitable. Radsky taking a little more damage from it. And it seems like every move that Hukars have made so far is almost set up by Apeks. Everywhere you go looking for a fight, they'll just shut you down and show you away. Akimbo, the next to fall. And now only Radsky remains. Might not even want anything to do with the site itself. Looking at the plant position, there's a chance to deny with the aftershock that he still currently has. Going for the long rotate. Mystic has tapped it, in fact, so does buy a window, but I mean, that window should be slammed shut. The Shutter's heading their way down, not even investing the utility, just looking for exits, and we'll get one at the very least.
At least he, at least he gets something. Ooh, all right.
Yeah. And might walk away with nothing if he wasn't careful.
Yeah. Speak too soon. But, again, like, that was an example of a round where Who had to kind of concede to plant somewhere that they didn't originally set up to plant. They didn't want to plant, but because they felt it was the only place that they could have. So cool, you get your 300 credits from planting, but they're still 6 rounds down and yet to put anything on the board. And the fact that they are being held back by 1 player on the A side is troublesome. That's not a good thing.
Yeah. And I said coming in the pregame how Lotus is quite forgiving in your sort of mid to late round in terms of where you want to end up, but it doesn't feel like anywhere that Hukars have gone thus far in the series has really been by their own volition. Apeks are just shutting the door on so many of these hits that they're going for, and then there's no second layer, which they're really struggling with. Finally, Kiko forced to retreat off the back of the Owl drone. What more can be done? There's already a response. Mystic's taken all this room outside of C, posts up behind the tripwire, and they just walk into his crosshairs. 2 kills found, back on death's door. Where do they go now?
Look at his HP, man. He's got 8 HP. It's so concerning. And Apeks don't really need to respond to this right now because they can just kind of hold their positions they're in, wait for some contact, and then act off of the back of that. And because of where their Killjoy utility is, they don't even need to worry about like that potential, route into the B site. It's all kind of covered.
I know exactly.
And again, we're under 30 seconds.
Ahead.
And from the positioning of the kills as well, they know this is going to be a C hit off the back of the neural theft. Nice ping from Enzo, not aware of Vac. The 8 HP player could just be enough to take him and will do. Back to a 3 versus 3. All the ults up for Apeks as it stands, and they're invested early. Even looking to deny the plant, won't be able to, just shy of the mark. The lockdown to flush further, but with how restricted this plant is, Shadow can full stick. They've got to get the heals on because it's just going to go all the way through. Vac stopped in his tracks, and Apeks finding a 7th uncontested.
I mean, Who did what they could. They did what they could in that round. They invested into the neural theft that allowed them to know that Enzo was the only one on site. Even though Enzo had, recon on them in return because of his own utility, they got the spike down. That was super important. And the fact that it was Vac who did it meant that he could dash out of the Rolling Thunder. So at least you got that far, but when you are that picked apart going into that situation, it was always going to be really rough. So I just want to see them get first blood here. That's my first step for recovery for who.
Oh, here he goes again. The left, the right, and then looking for one off the round of the button. Instead, it's Kiko. First pick. Not happening this time, Gio. He'll be the one to claim it. Flash into the site, and the guy's still not dead. Another kill inside the cloudburst. Once more, waiting with the shorty. He'll pick it up on Ratsky. You've got to be joking. Dashes to Chihuahua, but it will not matter. Mystics on the case, and Apeks are on top of the world. We asked for a step up, and they have delivered.
I'm just gonna... Here's something that's kind of bothering me, is you have a breach. You have a breach in your lineup, and you can't deal with that one or two player who's in tree.
Yeah.
Breach literally has everything you need to clear that person out, or at least, like, stun them so that you can ambush them or clear... You know, there is some fear here on who, and I don't really know why, because they've shown themselves to be a fearless team in a number of circumstances.
It is definitely a weird one. Back again, taking this A control, but it's at the expense of a dash. I mean, already layers of this utility being used up, and when we speak of layers, Eco is already in position, was supported by Shadow, who's now moving away, and it's a collateral through the smoke!
No way.
Just as soon as you think that the curtain was drawn on him, he'll do it the opposite way. Chihuahua trades. It's a 1 versus 3, and through all of this calamity, there is still a chance. The neural theft tossed into the ether, and hopefully not the case for Hookahs if you're planning on finding an additional round. Does get tagged. Spike not in his possession. Less than a minute on the clock and needs to isolate the jewels. The high-low being taken by Apeks, and they'll force Chihuahua to walk the high road. 9 rounds uncontested. We spoke of 13-0s in the past. I saw the Hookahs social post. They thought they'd made it out. You haven't yet.
You know, like, one thing that really hurts me is they keep trying to do these B takes and they are all feeding themselves in the same way. So, for example, the reason that Kiko could actually get that collab was because he had control of the other entrance to the B side. And no one from Hookahs is being sent in a different direction. They don't go for these two-pronged attacks. It simply does not happen. And it's, like, at this point, I think Apeks can just tell that they're going to be faking the A site and looking to push into B, and they have everybody ready there when they need them. Oh my god! It never ends! Someone please go through tree!
I mean, yeah, Enzo is just being allowed to do it right now, and finally, the wish is your command. I mean, you're Geo, but maybe you should be called Genie. Give you a lamp and some of these wishes might come to fruition. Mishu makes his way onto B, shows face before turning away. There's nothing you can do. The Enzodin is rampant. I'm going to keep using this one because it's just every single time you walk into him, Odin in hand. Flawless round, 10-0. Double digits, and the half isn't even done.
I just want to see Hookahs take control of tree and then have a feed into the site from there, or at least hold that angle, or at least have that space, and then either have someone come around from the other side, or even if you want to push up through spawn and be really spicy, I wouldn't recommend it. But something, I just need to see tree be controlled, you know, and it's like if you're watching a split game and just no one touches B main. Like, hello? Or like in Garage, you know? And it's like, you're never going to take the B side. And it's just hurting, man. It's just hurting.
Oh, it's the second time now that Vak's been hit by the Rolling Thunder. Fortunately, for our nature conservationists on the broadcast, there'll be no tree hugging in this round from Hookahs. They're heading straight on to C. What does the post plant look like? They've gone for the more open one this time around. There's a Hunter's Fury in to slow this down. They've outright denied it, in fact. And look at this space in Waterfall being taken by Hookahs. They're just sitting, looking for an overextension.
I also want to point out that there's 2 operators being run on Apeks here. So that means they could be a lot more static and still control some really important angles. Vak's getting aggressive. Enzo, of course, with Odin ready to respond. I don't think there's all that much they can do here. A Guardian gets a kill, but look, there's still that backing out. Mishu's kind of been left on his own here.
Kimbo needs to try and find a way to trade this if he can. Mishu's going to go for the wraparound. Has already spotted Shadow, finds it. Enzo, the raid boss, the last one you've got to find. Needs to get half on the spike already. Goes for the tap, looks for a Kimbo, now knows the position. This is all just buying time. He's pulled off it, found the kill. And there's just enough! He's going to do it, Enzo. 3 on the round, 11 for Apeks. And it's happened again.
5 HP, boys. Enzo, you know what? Enzo didn't even have like the most incredible game on Icebox, and I feel like he's really making up for it here. 15 and 2. You know, if you want to go for KDA, then he's got a 9.0 KDA.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Right, he's a person we've always touted for having a lot of experience. A Polaris veteran in many ways, if you discount the time he spent on Fnatic of all teams, being the sort of secondary caller there to Boaster. Just offers so much, and right now it's games like these when you need those players to be heavily involved, and we're seeing exactly that. I thought Ukars were out of the woods, that maybe they'd be able to get at least one on the board, but we are looking potentially at it being that same case again. A 13-0 and Mystics found the first.
Shadow's so close to having his rolling thunder again.
Oh,
Mystic, but he's not even going to
denied
need
the
it
plan.
if Mystic's just, if he's just getting everything, exactly. So the spike's just being left there. Akimbo's going to have to come in. He's got his Guardian again, or not anymore. And again, it just comes down to Chihuahua. That was actually quite a nice kill onto Magnum, but again, it's sort of one of those inconsequential things. It's like, oh, that's cool. Oh, it's dead.
It's like, you look through VLR, no one's gonna go, oh, Apeks 13-0'd who cars? Oh, it says here with an asterisk, Chihuahua got a nice kill. And this is actually more nice kills than Apeks.
One nice kill, please.
You know, yeah, exactly. They're going to need 5 nice kills if they don't want this to be the same. I can't believe I'm stood here looking at what could be another 13-0. The
Dude,
third,
they're gonna have the hat trick.
the hat trick. And how many series have they played? 4. This is their 4th series.
Oh, it's gonna be the 3rd map against the 3rd team. Like, there's variety. You know, I don't know who needs to hear this, but Apeks have range.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this is really also reminding me very much of the Sentinels Loud game that happened in VCT Americas last week, where Sentinels took the first map of Pearl, which was Loud's map. Like, that's Loud's map with a
Awaken
TM,
the
right?
beast.
Right?
You know?
And they did that, and then you get to the second map, and Loud were like, no, I'm sorry, you're not. You're just not.
Magnum has been dropped though. This could be signs of things changing, but it's Kiko that follows it immediately up. 4 versus 4 situation, minute left on the clock. Apeks getting the spike down in an open plant, and they're enjoying something which Hookahs didn't have. Comfortability around the post plant, or at least the positioning taken up in the round. This has been anything but. If you're Apeks, you are sat on a lounge chair right now. You're on the futon, you got your feet up, and you're only 1 round away from taking this 13-0. Shadow playing close with the frenzy, and they come to life, roaring in the face of Hookahs, who are shut down and taken out. 13